Hi, welcome to another tea time. How are you, Nadine?
I'm great, Tia. How are you? So looking
Good.
forward to our conversation today.
Well, it's the beginning of the year and everybody's thinking about weight loss, and caregivers always need to take care of themselves and never do. So it's really hard. We get so busy. We're running around taking care of all the tasks of the moment. So I don't know, what kind of tips do you have for us on self-care for the new year?
So I think it's a great thing to recognize that self-care is not selfish care. As caregivers, we sometimes think that any time we would spend to just take a breath is time that we're not with the person that we want to care for or the person we're responsible for. But let me tell you, we can do self-care in a breath before we get out of the car. Just by taking a deep breath and settling into our seat and relaxing our hands into our lap before we open the door and step into our day can make a huge difference in how you approach the circumstances that come by being a caregiver.
How does that work? Like, why does breathing even matter?
So a really wonderful technique is breathing and moving your body. Whenever you synchronize your breath and your body movement, so inhale and opening your hands and exhale and closing them, or just focusing on your breath, it stimulates your central nervous system. So that's the system that makes us go flight or fight. And when you're caregiving and you're really working hard at keeping someone alive or helping someone to live their best life, it can feel like everything is so important, and our body lives in a heightened state of stress, and it's a good stress because it produces good things. But we forget that taking that breath really puts us in the opposite mode. So when we just take a deep breath, it relaxes everything from our brain. It goes down our vagus nerve and calms our throat. It goes right past our heart and relaxes that, and into our gut and relaxes that. And when that central nervous system switches off and we're not stressing, trying to get everything done or working to provide our best care, we can be more compassionate towards ourselves. And I think that's one of the most important keys of self-care is self-compassion. Tia, I'm sure you've had some circumstances where you've had to remind yourself that it's okay to take a minute.
Yeah, but I never did. I never did.
No?
No, it's hard. I had too much to do. There's always one more thing to be on top of. It's making that mental note that, oh, it's going to be okay. Giving myself permission to have downtime. It's as a caregiver, I know so many of us just can't do it, don't do it, won't do it, don't feel like we're allowed to do it. And it's a really interesting kind of dilemma because, if in fact, I have a woman who I've been in relationship with for oh gosh, years and years and years. And she will not let go. She talks about knowing she needs to let go, but she rarely will do the thing. Like, she's the basics, food and water and caring for the person, but other than that, doctor's appointments come and go. And then that's the other thing, doctor's appointments, or caregivers were notorious for skipping things. I'll get it the next time, I'll do it another day. And it's hard. And part of the struggle, to be honest, is I think that there aren't other people to take care of the person that we're taking care of in the way that we take care of them. So we don't want to freak out the patient because somebody else is going to come alongside and do something differently than the way we've figured out how to manage that care, right? So, they only like the I'm trying to think of an example, like a port washed a certain way, or they only like to have the medication taken with certain kind of food, and that's the only way they'll do it. If somebody else comes along and you forget to tell them or whatever, it can be pretty traumatizing for everybody. The caregiver who left the situation, the person who was trying to help and didn't do it right, and the patient who suffered the consequences. So giving permission under that experience, or the fear of that experience, that's huge. And we haven't quite dug in, and maybe we can talk more about that at some point. Like, how do you dig into that space where it's terrifying to let go because awful things could happen, and I don't want to feel guilty because I have enough stress, right? How do we do that?
So I think it's like walking a tightrope, right? Finding that perfect balance between recognizing that the stress that you feel by being a caregiver is really also the truest expression of who you are. So, like you said, some of us are just so wrapped up in that caregiving person that we have everything just right. And it's funny, you were talking about us, like everything going wonky. We took our son to a snowboarding competition, and my sister-in-law came to the house to be with my father-in-law with Alzheimer's disease, and he went off the deep end just because we weren't here. He was hallucinating that there was a pond in the backyard, and she was all upset, and it just, it's like one fed the other, and we were like, oh my gosh. So then I think that was the last time that we did that. One of us, my husband or myself, would stay home, and the other one would take the child. What I think is most important is to recognize that it is both your strength and your weakness. And that in order to be your best self, it's important that you take some, whatever you can fit, self-compassion and self-love to help you do the best job that you can. So understanding that stress that you feel makes you a good caregiver. It really does. It is a blessing to the person you're caring for that you have the skill set, the ability, that you learned all of those things that you had to learn. But it's also important to remember that you need to breathe in order to live, in order to be that person.
That's a great message, and I'm sure that will resonate with many of the people who, are connecting with these tea times, and whether they're connecting this year or at another time later on. It's a good and perpetual message that we have to remember, and it's nice to know that it happened to you too, and it happens to other people, and the levels are different. Some people have bigger wraparound teams. Some people feel like they're on their own, but there's always someone who can come alongside and help you and give you space to breathe, even if it's to go into another room while they watch the person that you're caring for, or, there's some ways and that we can help. So if you need help, ask for it, my friends, and remember to breathe because breathing is important. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one. We'll see you at the next tea time.